What I need to do is I need to go to more,
Three.
hide
Okay.
my video. No, I didn't want to do that.
Yes,
Yes, I did want to.
hey David, we're live on
We
YouTube.
are live. Okay, I've got you there. And we're ready to go. Everybody, this here's your Health Eagle, and I'm coming to you from Thailand, from Chiang Mai, Thailand, this week. And as I have for the past 13 weeks of the endocrine system. The endocrine system is your system for creating hormones. And today is the culmination of this whole process of going through and learning about our hormones so that we can achieve a healthier life. We've been doing this so that you can live a healthy, full, happy life. And today is love, respect, intimacy, and sex. And we've been talking about glands, hormones, and what they do. The process that we've been through has been associated with relationships, creating healthy relationships through great nutrition, and then seeing how that feeds into our glands and hormones in the endocrine system. So we talked earlier about women's health, men's health, then in orientation of the endocrine system. Then we've been through the various different glands, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the thyroid, the parathyroid, the pineal, the thymus, the adrenal, the pancreas, the testes, and the ovaries, and then the ovarian and menstrual cycles. And then last week was all about hormones and attraction and creating the mood. And now we're going to actually get into love, respect, intimacy, and sex. All right, last week we picked up on the hormones for assisting with lust, attraction, and attachment. We know that testosterone and estrogen are required for the feeling of the need for attachment. And then in creating that attraction to create that attachment, a dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Remember that the dopamine creates a warm, fuzzy feeling, and energy towards attraction. The norepinephrine is creates the reward. And if you have a lower serotonin level, then you will have a greater attraction. So that's why serotonin is attached here. And then once you've got your attraction made, then your attachment is recognized through your hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. So just a reminder there of where we were and now where we're going. So we've been through the relationship issues. So nutrition creates health, health improves mood, mood determines feelings, feelings then create behaviors. Those behaviors enable relationships. Those relationships then tie back to intimacy, intimacy to sex, and of course, sex into reproduction. And that's what this has been all about, is how this all works and how we put it together and how our nutrition affects it. You'll note up at the top, and I'll show my little arrow here, this blue connection here, that is for your reference as always. This here is a great reference to hormones. If you're interested in finding out about any particular gland inside the endocrine system or a short description of the hormones that are generated there, just go to this link. Now we've been through hormones and endocrine system, and here we are with love, respect, intimacy, and sex. And the following links are from Dr. Ladd McNamara's website there to assist with a better understanding of those topics. Love. Love is a set of emotions and behaviors. Love is characterized by excitement, passion, and commitment. Love involves care, closeness, protectiveness, attraction, affection, and trust. Love can vary in intensity and does change over time. Love is associated with positive emotions, including happiness, excitement, satisfaction, and euphoria. But it also can result in negative emotions such as jealousy and the creation of stress. Remember that a heart is not measured by how much you love, by how much you are loved by others. A quote from Frank Morgan. So you may remember that from, how about The Wizard of Oz, when talking to the Scarecrow. So love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, love does not boast, love is humble, love is respectful, love is selfless and sacrificing, love is peaceful and calm, love keeps no records of wrongs, love rejoices in the truth, and love protects, trusts, hopes, and preserves. And these are important concepts in terms of trying to define love and what love does. We need to remember that love comes in languages, and everybody has their own language. So building intimacy through verbal or nonverbal communication requires knowing and analyzing your own love language, but also the love language of your intended partner. Most of us have one or two preferred love languages, often different from your partner's. So remember that what you think is love may not be exactly how your partner considers the reflection or the communication of love. If you express your love through your preferred love language, chances are it goes unnoticed. So talk to your partner using their love language. So the recognized languages for love are words of affirmation. These are words that build you up. You thrive on the spoken affection, praise, encouragement, and compliments. Harsh words hurt you. Acts of service, anything that your partner does willingly to ease your burdens, is love to you. Broken promises or laziness make you feel unimportant. Receiving of gifts, thoughtful gifts, shows that you are special. Generic gifts and forgotten events have the opposite effect. Now, receiving gifts don't necessarily mean anything particularly materialistic. It can be very simple acts or presentations or things that somebody does that is thoughtful in regards to you. Okay, quality time. You love undivided attention, right? You like to be with your partner to make you feel important and loved. Failure to listen or physical ambivalence feels unloved. You know, that's not necessarily what I'm referring to here. Is oftentimes we have to be separated, and yet there's no reduction in the feeling of love because you maintain a connectivity and a connection through other means. What we're referring to here is when you take your partner for granted, okay? Failure to listen or listen appropriately, or just being ambivalent to them being around makes them feel unloved, right? And physical touch, the holding of hands, kissing, hugs, and caresses are a preferred way to show and receive love. If you have physical neglect, that separates you from your partner. Did we lost the internet, Mila? Are you still with me?
Yes. We're doing good.
Okay, so I'm not seeing the subtitles because of internet connectivity issues. Okay, there we are. So did everybody pick that up, or do I need to repeat anything?
I think that should be good. You can just continue.
All right, we will continue. Okay, so 3 types of love in a relationship. You have passionate love, which is marked by infatuation, intense preoccupation with your partner, throes of ecstasy, feelings of exhilaration that come from being united or reunited with your partner. Compassionate love. Compassionate love involves diminished potent feelings of attachment. In authentic or enduring bond, a sense of mutual commitment, profound feelings of mutual caring, feeling proud of the mate's accomplishments, and the satisfaction that comes from sharing goals and perspective. There's also sacrificial love. That's when you give up things for the benefit of your loved one. Reflects the subsumption of the individual's self. Okay, so you're subjugating yourself to your partner in terms of giving time, love, and other things. So what about respect? Well, respect and love. Respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone elicited by their abilities, qualities, achievements, and the due demonstration of high regard for their feelings, wishes, rights, and traditions. Now, most people will say that love is most important part of a successful relationship. Love is hugely important, but respect is more important. Without the respect of your partner, there can be no real lasting love. Creating an unconditional love between a couple involves understanding one thing, and that is respect is as powerful for him as unconditional love is for her. Men and women both deserve love and respect, but respect is the secret to a loving union. Few couples ever survive without respect. Now, in relationships, men crave for respect and honor, and women desire love, romance, and trust. Respect for your husband will encourage him to fulfill his duties as head of the family. He gains confidence that he can measure up to your expectations because you are always there to support him. So husbands, love your wives, and wives, respect your husbands. So looking at respect in a healthy relationship, how do you do that? Well, you talk openly and honestly with each other. You listen to each other intently without criticism, and you don't interrupt them when they're speaking. You value each other's feelings, moods, thoughts, wants, and needs. You're compromising in all but your integrity. Speak kindly with and about each other, and you never gossip about your partner. Give each other space to think, grow, and just even vegetate. Support each other's interests, hobbies, careers, businesses, and be of value to them. Build each other up, encourage each other, give lots of compliments. Honor each other's boundaries, no matter what. Respect yourself. Self-respect is the key to building confidence and maintaining healthy relationships with people throughout their lives. Involve each other in decision-making process, and they will feel valued. Remember preferences and act upon them positively with pleasure. You also want to never hide your admiration for your spouse. Take an interest in each other's careers and professional duties. Spouses feel frustrated if you do not respect their skills, talents, and abilities. Be open to your spouse's ideas and opinions. Do not brush them aside. When your spouse wants to have a conversation with you, give them your full attention. No matter what your spouse must have done, you have no right to insult them in public. Always praise in public. If you're going to criticize, do it in private. Children will respect their parents if you respect your spouse. Tell children good things about your spouse and tell them they struggle to see the children happy. Appreciate your spouse's hard work and struggle to keep the family happy. These are all important components to building a lasting, loving relationship. So we look at intimacy now, and being intimate means experiencing a higher level of closeness, comfort, and understanding that results in feeling deeply connected emotionally. People often confuse intimacy with sex and being physical. Yet you can be physically intimate with someone without having any emotional or intellectual intimacy. You can also be emotionally intimate with someone without being physically intimate. Intimacy literally means close familiarity or friendship. When you understand the connection between respect and intimacy, you'll be more motivated to refrain from engaging in disrespectful behavior. Intimacy is created through communication by sharing vulnerabilities, feelings, dreams, desires, and histories. You are building history when you speak about these, or you're building intimacy when you're speaking about these. When you share a vulnerable expression with your partner, you will feel anxious on how they will respond. That's normal, but it also can be nerve-wracking. Vulnerable communication is a wonderful way to deepen your intimate connection while building the trust for increasing intimacy. Communicating about vulnerable past events or disclosing something that has been weighing you down can build the skills necessary to address even more sensitive topics in the future. So you want to build intimacy. By building intimacy doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a commitment to communicate. Creating intimacy with your partner involves being open and talking through thoughts and emotions, letting down your guard or being vulnerable, showing how you feel and what your hopes and dreams are, and communicating in your partner's love language. Remember that again. Let's say do that again. Communicate to your partner in their love language. Intimacy requires patience and an effort from both partners to create and maintain. Being intimate is not about sex. It's not about being physical. However, it often is a significant precursor to sex. Really memorable, enjoyable sex. Intimacy is about mutually opening yourselves up emotionally. It's about being vulnerable and honest and letting each other know how you truly feel. By being intimate, you strengthen your relationship, but is not build and forget. Intimacy is always a work in progress. Failing to maintain and build upon your intimacy is a recipe for creating emotional distance, and emotional distancing strains and breaks relationships. Being intimate is something you do on a regular basis. When you focus only on each other, it will do great things for your feelings of intimacy. So looking at the intimacy, oftentimes it's broken down into 5 different types. And these create a more holistic connection and closeness with your partner. They're emotional, intellectual, experienced, spiritual, and sexual. Emotional intimacy typically develops after a certain level of trust has been achieved and personal bonds have been established. Emotional intimacy involves candid, authentic sharing of thoughts and feelings. Being able to tell each other your deepest fears, dreams, disappointments, and most complicated emotions, and feeling seen and understood when you do. Emotional intimacy means both of you feel safe and comfortable with uninhibited expression around each other. This safe space is cultivated by each person refraining from judgment or contempt when the other is sharing. We confide in people whom we trust. That doesn't mean they always tell us what we want to hear, but we believe they won't repeat anything we share in confidence. We also don't embarrass, insult, condemn, or belittle them. Now, intellectual intimacy is a comfort in communicating beliefs and viewpoints without worrying about potential conflicts or creating And creating intellectual intimacy where your partner respects your voice. If each person in the relationship has the freedom to think for themselves and believes that their opinions are respected and valued instead of feeling pressured to agree or compromise, intimacy will grow. This atmosphere encourages stimulating conversation, improved conversations. You feel closer to your person who cares for you as an independent thinker, where differences are encouraged and not discouraged. So intellectual intimacy is where there's a high level of understanding between each other, and together you can talk about just about anything. Now, experience intimacy is that which comes from shared experiences, which can lead to inside jokes, private memories, and this can intensify your connection. The act of teamwork and moving in unison towards a common goal creates experiences and a feeling of closeness. This bond is a result of experience intimacy. Our memories are closely linked to our senses. Experienced intimacy is recalling moments or moment triggers involving these sensory reactions. If the moment was pleasurable, it promotes that same energy, and that energy is remembered. So oftentimes experienced intimacies are when you go places that are special to you or that become special to you. You go to places, you go to restaurants, and they have particular ambiance that is creating a more conducive environment towards your loving experience. These create experiences that are intimate and that are memorable. And in my particular case, I mean, we travel all over the world, and these create amazing experiences together, and to be able to remember those in terms of pictures or films and so forth is so intimate and building of connection. Spiritual intimacy, very, very important. Religious practice isn't necessary for building spiritual intimacy, although it can serve in this purpose. Religions teach heavily upon the parallelism between God's love for the church and a couple's love for each other. This closeness forms when you share poignant moments with your partner. Through praying and worshiping as a couple, you can create bonds that can withstand all negativisms and strife. Praying together and worshiping together are shared emotional events that build spiritual intimacy. Sexual intimacy is a physical intimacy, may include being inside someone's personal space, holding hands, hugging, kissing, heavy petting, and other sexual activities such as intercourse. When sexual chemistry leads to sex, there can be many positive benefits. Physically, your health is going to improve if you're in a healthy physical relationship. Your immune functions increase, and your perception of pain decreases. Psychologically, your benefits include relief of stress, increased feelings of happiness, and improved sleep quality. Right? One of the things to remember in this process of seeking sexual intimacy is that each partner desires their intimacy in a different way. Now, sustaining intimacy involves well-developed emotional and interpersonal awareness and communicative skills. All right, building this intimacy and keeping it going is important as you go through life, because remember, both persons are growing, both persons are changing. Your experiences are both joint and separate. And therefore, you need to continue communicating, and you need to continue to share those in a humble and a vulnerable way. Intimacy involves the ability to, and desire to be both separate and mutual participants in this intimate relationship. You have to be a willing participant for it to grow. The intimate behavior involves continuing this reciprocal self-disclosure and candor that you did early on in your relationships, and poor skills in developing or maintaining your intimacy can lead to either getting too close too quickly or getting too close to the wrong person, struggling to find boundaries and connection, becoming a poor friend. And as your separation increases, your relationship suffers. Sustained intimacy is achieved by countering our natural instincts for self-protection and self-preservation. Partners must be able to explore, appreciate, and preserve in managing differences rather than similarities. Deeper levels of self-disclosure can increase anxiety. Tension-filled moments of defensiveness offer some of the best opportunities for increased openness and closeness to develop. So just because you have a tough situation coming up, it doesn't mean it can be it doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be detrimental to your relationship if you approach it positively and in a way that is vulnerable. Each partnership must be able to develop the ability to explore their values, goals, fantasies, concerns, interests, and core beliefs about each other. Most men are more easily tempted if his wife deprives him of sexual intimacy. Wives, on the other hand, are most vulnerable to temptation when her husband deprives her of emotional intimacy. Remember that men are seeking respect and women are seeking romance. Showing the vulnerability required to achieve intimacy feels scary. Fear of intimacy is most likely self-protection and means that you need an alternative way to feel safe and have had past experiences where your trusted expression of vulnerability was violated. And this is very important to remember, is that if you wanted to impede intimacy, violate that vulnerability, okay? Make somebody afraid of being vulnerable and you will destroy intimacy. People who are afraid of intimacy often have the desire to be intimate, but they fear being hurt and disappointed. It is important to know that and address the event or circumstances of a negative experience. So if you're dealing with someone who has had a negative experience in being vulnerable, then you need to address it. You need to talk through it. You need to find the mechanisms, and you need to honor their vulnerability. When you can overcome the fear of intimacy with others by achieving an intimate relationship with yourself and reestablishing your self-confidence. For many couples, the most intimate they feel is when they are making love. Intimacy, and this goes back to the issue of communication and the mechanisms of communicating, and the need for the woman for romance leading up to sex, and the need for the man for release and respect after sex. Intimacy and sex are not the same thing, but they are mutually reinforcing. Sex is enhanced by intimacy. The closer a couple are in ways other than sex, the more rewarding their sexual life often becomes. When you can share common experiences as well as feelings, you help to create improved intimacy. Sharing emotions and feelings can be particularly difficult for some people who taught to believe that men don't show their feelings. Lack of or diminishing intimacy can result in many factors, but is cause for breaking the ties with your partner. Now, I want to go back to that sharing of intimacy and feelings and how men are often matured with the idea that they have to withstand everything without emotion, that they have to be able to not show their emotions, okay? And this is a taught environment. It is also something that every woman must understand, that you don't change these behaviors and so forth easily, okay? And you need to be able to respect your man in order for him to develop the trust in order to be able to communicate to you in an emotional way. So in order to perpetuate this and go forward, we need to understand that there's a sexual chemistry. When you have that immediate physical attraction to someone, that is a sign of sexual chemistry. Your palms sweat, your breathing gets short, all right? You're drawn to someone quickly and often intensely. Sexual chemistry is usually obvious at the beginning of a relationship and is an important component to many relationships. It is almost drug-like, where you feel this euphoria, and we'll get back to that in just the next paragraph, but you get this feeling of euphoria. The issue comes is that when you get used to that, your chemistry feels to drop off. So you have to, in order to keep perpetuating your chemistry of this feeling of love and excitement, you have to keep feeding it in a way that enables that to grow. So when you're attracted to someone, your brain releases high levels of dopamine and norepinephrine. Okay, dopamine and norepinephrine make us giddy, energetic, and euphoria, sometimes resulting in the loss of appetite and the inability to sleep. Yes, indeed, love can make you sleepless and also make you lose weight because you lose appetite. The danger is that you might interpret the sexual chemistry alone as reflecting deeper connection. Without more knowledge about the very attractive person you are getting to know, you just don't know enough about who they are. So whether or not you are still waiting on the night on the white stallion, the magnetism of intense sexual chemistry can result in good short-term relationships too. Sex between consenting adults can be very beautiful. And you might also find that there are times in your life when you need a water buffalo. And that is a relationship that is available, dependable, and reliable. May not be exciting. As long as both parties recognize their time together for what it truly is, consensual, sexual relationships that are based solely on physical enjoyment can work out well if chemistry exists. If good chemistry does not exist, sexual alliances is not likely to be repeated. The dangers of sexual chemistry. When couples are drawn to each other in a passionate physical way, one might want a longer lasting relationship and be disappointed to find that the other only wants a continuation of the physical connection. One partner may not be living a healthy lifestyle or exhibits damaging behaviors. Couples may discover they bring out the worst in each other. One study suggested that couples in intimate relationships may pick up each other's unhealthy habits through the direct bad influence of one partner. When two people overlook the rest of their relationship dynamics for the sake of strong physical or sexual focused tie, it does not bode well. Infidelity, alcoholism, drug abuse, and other serious problems should never be overlooked because of great sex. When two people are obsessed with each other and have off the chart sexual chemistry, they might struggle to leave each other, but know they can't stay together either. This type of relationship can quickly become toxic. If you have a declining sexual chemistry, when two of you first got together, you were inseparable. Your sexual chemistry was undeniable and you had blast exploring each other's bodies. But then over time, things began to change. Your sexual activities went from daily occurrences to weekly to monthly to who knows when. The two haven't touched each other for what feels like forever. Believe it or not, this is more common than you may think. In fact, partners, both genders, report feelings of sexual frustration and dissatisfaction with their sex life. This is not, this is a common occurrence in most marriages where you become less inventive, less curious, less close. You're growing apart. You spend less time together. You're not communicating in each other's love languages. These are the kinds of things that you need to be prepared for. And if you're aware of what's going on, you can take the action that's necessary to change it. So overcoming declining sexual chemistry, time pressures are leading causes of declining sexual chemistry. Just got to do this, got to do this, got to be here, got to be there, okay? And it just wears you out. Taking time to talk about sex is a highly recommended method for reigniting sexual chemistry. But the two of you must make meaningful time available. It can't be happenstance. Know and use your partner's love language. Send each other flirty texts throughout the day and keep each other excited and interested. Engage each other in sexual fantasies and playfulness. Explore your boundaries. Don't necessarily choose to explore your spouse's or your partner's boundaries because you need to be respecting your boundaries, but choose to explore your own boundaries and allow your partner to explore them with you. Even if you're exhausted, spend no less than 5 minutes each day kissing or touching or talking or being playful with your partner. Even if you're still not in the mood for sex, you will be releasing oxytocin to help you bond better and dopamine, which will make you feel good about it. Make more effort to engage in physical affection and increase the time you touch. An important component of all this is that we need to talk about sex. And unfortunately, from an early age, many of us were taught that sex is something that should never be talked about. It should be hidden and never discussed. Oh, it's terrible. You can't do that. But that leads pretty much to a complicated intimacy issues. If you can't talk about sex, it is very difficult to know your partner. But until you remove the stigma from sex as far as communication is concerned, having open, honest discussions with your partner will be quite a challenge. Talking sex, even with someone you love and trust, can be embarrassing. But don't pull away. Problem won't go away if you don't discuss it. Communication is the heart of any healthy relationship, and it's important that you always be honest with your partner. Start framing sex like you would any facet of your relationship. Despite what many of us are taught, sex is healthy, normal, part of life, and should be treated as such. Now, I add in this additional thing, so we're not going to get into issues of libido, sexual techniques, anatomy, and emotions, and other issues, which we have covered in some ways during our male and female sessions and during the hormonal sessions. But if you've got questions that you want to address to the HealthEagle, you can contact me at this email address and I will get back with you. For those people who are watching this in the future on YouTube or other presentations, please, no solicitations, okay? I'm a happily married man and I love it. And all I want to do is say this, that I'm 65 years old. I've been sexually active for more than 40 of that. And I fathered 5 children. And in all of that, I've had many relationships and I've learned many, many things. And through that experience, I may be able to help. Run these today.
I can play them. Or
I think I've got them all set up for Chinese subtitles.
Oh, perfect. Then go ahead. Be sure to share your volume when you started.
All right. I need to. I want to end show. I want to do. I think I might. Okay. I think I already did that, but I need to find a way to get to. There it is. Okay. More. Share sound. Okay. So I'm sharing sound. Now let me get rid of this piece right here. Hide floating controls. And now back over to the YouTube. Nope. Okay, Mila, I'm going to put it back to you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Because I think I lost for some reason. There we go. Okay, so I've got the subtitles back. Let me get rid of my floating controls again, and I'll let you do this part.
Okay.
All right, to you, Mila.
Sounds good. Thanks, David. Let me share my screens. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, Mila.
Perfect. Ready to rock and roll.
Today, we are filming a talk show. You are going to be our host.
Really? Oh, okay.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Ooh, yes, come with me. What is love? Well, you can break it down into 3 components: passion, intimacy, and commitment. Together, they make up the triangular theory of love, psychology's most robust model of love. So, what comes first? What leads to what? Well, it can really start with any, but your relationship has a better shot at surviving long-term if it possesses at least 2 of these components at any given time. Here's where it gets tricky, though. You can make a choice to commit to someone, but you can't decide one day to be intimate. So where does intimacy come from? How do 2 people grow to the point where they can just tell each other anything? Well, social scientists say the key to intimacy is expressing vulnerability and curiosity. To test this out, we did what we do best. We set up an experiment. First, we brought in a group of couples to act as our subjects and created a talk show. We made one partner the host and the other the guest. This slipped them into roles requiring one to be curious and the other to open up and be vulnerable. Each host had a stack of personal questions, but I didn't let them read them until the show was already underway. And I don't feel bad about that, because this is science.
Come on in. Thank you for joining me on my show.
To join you on your show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be interviewing you tonight. I have a series
real?
of questions. Yeah.
Question number 1.
What strengths do I bring to our relationship?
That's an easy one, actually. You bring a lot of compassion, a lot of awareness. Some things I probably shouldn't say in public.
Describe the first moment you knew I was it for you.
when you sent me a video of yourself because you didn't know how to use Skype. So you made a video of yourself and then emailed it to me.
You know, I love the things that are just you. I like the fact that you sing me silly songs into my voicemail.
And it was just your face and you saying hello. But I was smitten from that moment.
She stalked me, so
I did.
it was a good
I
thing.
stalked
She
him.
stalked me.
When we were hanging out down in the park, we had I don't know.
A moment?
I just knew.
And from that day, we've been together, and it's been 531 days, so it's a good thing.
It is.
When was a time in our lives when you think our relationship needed more attention?
I'm not sure.
Well, you know, you followed me out here to LA, and I told you if you don't move with me, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do the long distance thing, which I think was really selfish of me.
How satisfied are you with the amount of time we spend together?
Actually, that's a good question because we met later in life, so I feel that critical, acute sense of time with you. But the blessing is because I'm so conscious about the fact that the clock is always ticking. This is one day less.
You know, now I really want to focus on not being so selfish and thinking about what you want and
our future,
yeah.
I guess when I was following you out here, I felt kind of one-sided.
What's one way we could be a better couple?
We could better learn how to get through the difficult parts.
What are you most scared
About our future.
That you won't be able to keep up with me. Because I'm just always energy go, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm sleeping.
I find that when we get into an argument, we both just repeat the same thing back at each other. And that trick of like saying, I hear what you're saying, let me make sure that I'm hearing it correctly. But that's so boring when you're in the heat of passion, so I don't know if I'll ever get there.
What if you just fall out of love with me? And I don't want that to happen. So I'm scared.
You know, one of the things I'm realizing right now as you're talking is one of the big parts about relationships is fear management.
Yeah, it's hard, but I think you're right. Like, don't let it escalate. Don't let it get too hot in the negative sense.
Right. Only hot in the positive sense.
I just don't want to make you feel bad about yourself, I guess. I don't want to lose you either.
Well, I'm lucky to have a teammate who's so capable.
I don't know, I'm just learning.
Now, we observed varying levels of fear and anxiety in subjects during moments of vulnerability, which makes a lot of sense. There's a real possibility of getting rejected or hurt. But in none of our subjects did this actually happen.
Thank you for
joining the show today,
I like
Mr.
that.
Husband.
Thank you. Join us next week when we're Q&Ing from my perspective too.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
You never know.
I would like that.
Actually, yeah, we're gonna do that.
Okay.
Like now?
Yep.
All right.
He's gonna be the guest now, and you're gonna be our host. Yes!
Okay.
Let me ask you, what is something we used to do that you miss now?
I think like the limerence phase of things and just really being swooned and like getting to have quality romantic time. Okay.
So this is a funny one because we have this kind of ongoing joke in the relationship that I'm kind of the male side of the relationship.
I think it's easy because we spend so much time together just doing life and regular things that becomes our norm. And it would just be great to have those, like, even though we spent all day together, let's go on like a date.
What scares you the most about our future?
What strengths do I bring to our relationship?
Oh man, you bring the maturity, I think, sometimes. I'm not very logical sometimes. I'm very emotional with my decisions and everything I do, and you always bring me back down to earth.
You definitely bring the love.
Like when you opened the car door the other night, you like walked all the way around to do that. It really meant a lot. It's like a nice little icing on the cake.
That's not hard to do. You can do that.
Absolutely, without question, what scares me is losing you. I cannot imagine my life without you, which is crazy because I specifically didn't think I was a romantic person.
He shows me tons of love and affection and sensitivity.
She
If
has the
anything, I need to be.
I feel like you bring me out of my shell. You take me out of my comfort zone, and I like it.
And then I met you, and it was like I got hit by lightning. I mean, it was like, there's the one. And I didn't even know anything about you So this relationship has changed my entire understanding of life and the universe and everything.
Not just regular love, but unconditional love. And that is something that I heard of it, I knew of it, but you brought it.
I see in you what you don't let anybody else see, and I love building your confidence because you're so great, and I love you. And
Thanks, babe. I love you too.
You're the meaning of my life, and without you, what's the point?
I really want to kiss him now.
Kiss.
Now, one of the most important things to know about love is it never stays in the same place. Intimacy and passion rise and fall with the stresses of life. So, if you feel a drop now and then, don't freak out. Doesn't mean a relationship's broken. It's just the nature of how love works. So, do what you saw here. Put some energy into learning more about someone, even if you think you know it all. And have the guts to be vulnerable. You can't get anywhere if you don't take risks. I'm Julian, and this has been The Science of Love.
Open cake, subscribe.
That's interesting.
There were nuggets in there, all kinds of little nuggets that probably talk directly to you. Maybe not all of the conversations and so forth hit upon something that happened or something that you know, but there were nuggets in there. Did you catch them? All right, think about it, and then we'll go on to the next one. Okay, Mila.
So the next one's no translation. Do I need to click to skip that one?
Okay.
Skip the next one.
Welcome to our science web series, brought to sciencehook.com. Today, we'll be learning about love, its chemistry, and its importance for our survival. Attraction and attachment, as much as we hate to admit it, doesn't come from the heart. As a matter of fact, love involves synaptic connections and chemical reactions within our brains, despite how unromantic that sounds. With an irresistible cocktail of chemicals, our brain entices us to fall in love. We believe we are choosing a partner. But we may merely be the happy victims of nature's lovely plan of keeping the human species alive and reproducing. Researchers propose 3 stages of love, which are lust, attraction, and attachment. Each stage is driven by different hormones and chemicals. Lust is the first stage of love, and is driven by the sex hormones, testosterone, and estrogen, in both men and women. This stage depends on characteristics, such as symmetrical face, and proportionate body dimensions, say when you check out a hot girl or guy, at your friend's birthday party. Stage 2 of love is attraction. This is the amazing time when you are truly love-struck, and can think of little else. Scientists think that 3 main neurotransmitters are involved in the stage: adrenaline, dopamine, and serotonin. Let's go through these chemicals one by one. First one is adrenaline. The initial stages of falling for someone activates your stress response, increasing your blood levels of adrenaline and cortisol. This has the charming effect that when you unexpectedly bump into your new love, you start to sweat, your heart races, and your mouth goes dry. Next is dopamine. This chemical stimulates desire and reward by triggering an intense rush of pleasure. To get rewarded with the feelings of enjoyment and pleasure, it motivates us to do certain activities, in this case, sex. Couples often show the signs of surging dopamine, increased energy, less need for sleep or food, focused attention and exquisite delight in smallest details of the relationship. And finally, serotonin. One of love's most important chemicals that may explain why, when you are falling in love, your new lover keeps popping into your thoughts. It makes you obsessive and moody, making you feel happy and anxious about your love. Moving to the third and last stage, attachment. Attachment is the bond that keeps couples together long enough for them to have and raise children. Scientists think there might be two major hormones involved in this feeling of attachment: oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin is also known as the cuddle hormone. Oxytocin is a powerful hormone released by men and women during orgasm. It probably deepens the feelings of attachment and makes couples feel much closer to one another after they have had sex. The theory goes that the more sex a couple has, the deeper their bond becomes. Oxytocin also seems to help cement the strong bond between mother and baby and is released during childbirth. It is also responsible for a mother's breast automatically releasing milk at the mere sight or sound of her young baby. Researchers have shown that if you block the natural release of oxytocin in sheep and rats, they reject their own young. Conversely, injecting oxytocin into female rats who have never had sex cause them to fawn over another female's young, nuzzling the pups and protecting them as if they were their own. Vasopressin is another important hormone in the long-term commitment stage and is released after sex. Vasopressin works with your kidneys to control thirst. Its potential role in long-term relationships was discovered when scientists looked at the prairie vole. Prairie voles indulge in far more sex than is strictly necessary for the purposes of reproduction. They also, like humans, form fairly stable pair bonds. When male prairie voles were given a drug that suppresses the effect of vasopressin, the bond with their partner deteriorated immediately, as they lost their devotion and failed to protect their partner from new suitors. So, that's all about chemistry behind love. Please like and subscribe our channel, and don't forget to share this video.
Great refresher on those hormones. Right, we touched on that early in the presentation, and we did a whole presentation on it last week. Okay, Mila, welcome to the show, Thekla.
So this one doesn't have translation. Should I play this one or to the next one?
Go to the next one, Mila. All of these presentations are available to you. I do send them out to the HealthEagle team, both on Facebook and on WeChat. And they're also available on YouTube subsequent to the presentations live.
Where this gal came in to her husband and said, "Hey, I ran over the 710 cap." "You did what?" "I ran over the 710 cap." "What do you mean you ran over the 710 cap?" "Yeah, it was in the car. It fell out of the engine and I ran over it and I picked it up and the 710 cap, it's all bent." "What do you mean?" So he goes out to the garage with her. He said, "That says oil." Turn it upside down, it's 710. Now, why do I bring these things up? Because some of us actually enjoy one another. We actually enjoy one another, but some of us take snapshots of the other person and we begin to say in our heart of hearts, they're stupid. They're cantankerous. They're ill-tempered. Don't even know how to do the laundry. We're not as loving as we used to be. We're not as respectful as we used to be. And why is that important? The University of Washington studied 2,000 couples for 20 years. And do you know what they discovered? It's probably the leading laboratory for relationships. Quantitatively, they do great research. And they discovered the two key ingredients for successful marriages: love and respect. Love and respect. The two key ingredients. And they said when those two key ingredients are present, the marriage tends to succeed. And when they're not present, that marriage begins to wobble and actually fail. They had reduced it to two key ingredients. The reason I find that so fascinating is that the Apostle Paul said that 2,000 years ago in Ephesians 5:33, where we read that a husband must love and a wife must respect.
Kind of interesting. Love and respect.
There you go. Auto translate. Got it.
Yeah, it's been said that, unbelievers are seeking, if they come into the home of a husband and wife who really do like each other, really do have love and respect for each other, and there's a sense of friendship, that awakens a hunger in people to have that kind of relationship, and also to know, why in the world is this working and how are you doing this? This is a powerful, powerful privilege, and you have it as a CEO, perhaps second to none. But the challenge is this: when we are seeking to be responsible, effective leaders, something begins to give, and quite often we kind of expect our spouse to be empathetic and understanding, and over the years we begin to kind of drift on that. I think that would be acknowledged by all of us. And the question really on the table is there an important connection between your marriage and your leadership in the organization? Well, the answer to that is absolutely yes. But here's what I've found, that we've got to step back at times and realize, what is it that Christ is watching? What is He looking at? And the truth is, He's watching that husband-wife relationship first and foremost. Ephesians 5:33 says a husband must love his wife and a wife must respect her husband. What happens when a wife feels unloved? She reacts in a way that feels disrespectful. When a husband feels disrespected, he reacts in a way that feels unloving. And that gives birth to what I call the crazy cycle. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. And within 30 seconds, this thing is spinning out of control and you're thinking, I didn't sign up for this. So the question really is, what's the incentive for us to move forward? Well, at the end of the day, this is about you and your relationship with Christ and doing what you do unto Christ, doing it with a Christ consciousness. Why? Well, one, your relationship reflects the very image of God on the planet. And if you were to actually do your relationship well, and then perhaps offer marriage seminars for your people, saying, my wife and I, or my husband and I are going to be there, and we want to invite you to come. Hey, we're fellow strugglers, we're sojourners with you, but you know what? We've done some things right in the midst of doing some things wrong. And if they sense that you're the real deal, you're not a bald-headed man selling hair restoration oil, that you're the real deal, a revival could set forth in your company. All of us have to step back and realize at the end of the day that in one sense, our marriage isn't causing us to be the way we are. Our marriage is revealing the way we are. At the end of the day, the Lord says there are certain criteria that I want you to fulfill. And being a significant, big deal CEO, it's not that important to me. What's important to me is how you're treating your family, how you're treating your spouse, and that's where you're going to be rewarded. I want you to see the powerful correlation with this. This is no small issue. The husband-wife relationship as a reflection of God Himself. I suggest you give some thought to that. God bless you.
I really love that video. It spoke very closely to me, having been a corporate CEO twice in my life and running my own companies. And even as an entrepreneur, I'm CEO of the HealthEagle organization. And so that being said, trying to relate to a loving relationship and being able to be a model or a representation anyway of where to go as far as a corporate leader, and because you know that you've got people watching you all the time. So as individual entrepreneurs and running your own USANA businesses, these are important concepts that you may want to consider and to ponder. Okay, Mila?
What is love? Seriously though, what is it? What is love? A verb? A noun? A universal truth? An ideal? The common thread of all religions? A cult? A neurological phenomenon? There's no shortage of answers. Some are all-encompassing. It conquers all. It's all you need. It's all there is. These are all comparisons, though. Ways of defining it by contrast, by saying it's more important than all other things. But is it? Sure, love matters more than your standard turkey sandwich, but does it matter more than shelter, or sanity, or an exceptional turkey sandwich? No matter your answer, you're just ranking it, not defining it. Another challenge to defining love is we often try to do so while falling into it, or out of it. Would you trust someone who just won the lottery to accurately define the concept of currency? Or, I don't know, ask a guy to define bears while he's fending them off? Or is romance not like winning the lottery? Are breakups not like bear attacks? Bad comparisons? That's my point. I'm not thinking right because I'm in love, so ha! Taking a step back, or taking a cold shower, whatever. Love is potentially the most intensely thought about thing in all of human history, and despite centuries upon centuries of obsession, it still overwhelms us. Some say it's a feeling, a magical emotion, a feeling for someone like you've never felt before. But feelings are fluid, not very concrete foundation for a definition. Sometimes you hate the person you love. Plus, come on, you've felt feelings like it before, sort of in miniature. Your relationships with your family shape your relationships with partners, and your love for your partner may be in its own dynamic relationship, healthy or totally weird, with the love of your parents and siblings. Love is also a set of behaviors we associate with the feeling. Holding hands, kissing, hugging, public displays of affection, dating, marriage, having kids, or just sex. But these loving actions can be subjective or culturally relative. You may love or be someone who can't have kids or doesn't want to, who believes in marriage but also in divorce, who's from a culture where people don't really date the way we think of dating, or who just doesn't want to make out on the bus. But if love is a thing that we can define, then how can it mean opposite things for so many people? So maybe love's all just in your head, a personal mystery winding through your neural pathways and lighting up pleasing natural rewards in your nervous system. Perhaps these rewards are addictive. Perhaps love is a temporary or permanent addiction to a person, just like a person can be addicted to a drug. I don't mean to be edgy like some pop song. Evidence shows that chemicals in your brain stimulated by another person can make you develop a habit for that person. The person comes to satisfy a physiological craving, and you want more. But then sometimes, slowly or suddenly, you don't. You've fallen out of love, become unaddicted, for a spell. What happened? Does one develop a tolerance or hit a limit? Why do some lovers stay addicted to each other their entire lives? Perhaps to create new lives? To proliferate their species? Maybe love is just human DNA's optimal method for bringing about its own replication. There are evolutionary arguments regarding every human mating behavior, from how we display ourselves to potential mates, to how we treat each other in relationships, to how we raise kids. Thus, some argue that the feeling you think you feel in your soul is just biology's way to make you continue our species. Nature has selected you to have crushes on hotties, just like it makes monkeys have crushes on hot monkeys, and biology marches on. But is that all love is? Or perhaps worse, is it just a construct, some fake concept we all convince each other to try to live up to for a fake sense of purpose? Maybe it is a construct, but let's be more precise about what a construct is, because love is constructed from reality. Our experiences, feelings, brain chemistry, cultural expectations, our lives. And this edifice can be viewed through countless dimensions: scientific, emotional, historical, spiritual, legal, or just personal. If no two people are the same, no two people's love is the same either. So in every loving relationship, there's a lot to talk about, and partners should be open to that, or the relationship probably won't last. Love is always up for discussion, and sure, under construction. So if we can't define it, that's a good sign. It means we're all still making it. Wait, I didn't mean... You know what I meant.
Hey guys, this is Kristen from KristenCom. We're going to be talking about respect and relationships today and the importance of doing that. You know, in order to have a healthy relationship, there has to be a mutual level of respect and consideration in your relationship dynamic. It's an absolute necessity. And a lot of couples actually lack this. And as a result, their communication can be really unhealthy, their interactions and dynamics, and it can really affect even, those other core foundations of what makes a healthy relationship. It can affect their intimacy. If they're lacking respect, it can It can affect maybe some trust issues, honesty things. There's just a lot of negative aspects can really happen if you don't have the core foundation of mutual respect. And really, respect means a lot of things for a lot of different couples. And I think you guys have to decide what the definition of respect is for you. But I want to talk a little bit about at least my relationship and what I deem to be respectful. I've been with my husband for 16 years since high school. And over time, we have been able to kind of develop some rules and ground rules that we feel are respectful towards one another. And some of these rules that we are living by now are 100% what we live by from day one. And so I wanted to tell you some things that really have worked for us, and hopefully you can assess to see if you've been doing that, or if you aren't, maybe you can implement that into your relationship. So the first thing that is so important for you to do, something that I have done and my partner has done from day one, is you have to communicate kindly to one another. What does that mean? It means you don't yell, you don't curse, you don't call names, okay? You have to communicate kindly. Even if you're in an argument and you're frustrated, any type of yelling or cursing at one another is really unhealthy and something that you shouldn't do. It doesn't resolve the situation, it doesn't help the situation, and it really has you and your partner resorting to communication styles that aren't going to be helpful, in terms of resolving the problem. So why do it? Don't yell, don't be disrespectful. That's huge. You also want to be honest with one another. This is something that I definitely did not do in the beginning of our relationship, and same with my partner. He struggled with some honesty issues, and it really had a detriment in our relationship, years down the road. And so we are living by the fact of that we need to be 100% open and honest with each other about everything that we feel, things that we think, even if it's at the risk of having, an argument or a disagreement. Because in order to have a healthy relationship, you have to be authentic. You have to put 100% self in the relationship. That's what makes it healthy. You have to be you, your partner has to be your partner, and you guys have to decide if 100% of each other is what you want to be with and what you want to have a relationship with. If you're hiding things, then your partner is misinformed about everything about who you are, and vice versa. So you need to have 100% transparency, so your other half really knows you and can make the decision if he or she wants to continue being in the relationship. And another way to show honesty with each other or respect with each other, is compromise. You need to compromise in a relationship, and that shows respect. It shows that you're able to take into consideration what your partner thinks, and your partner's able to do the same thing. You have to compromise. You have to come to an agreement where both of you guys can be happy. That's really, really key. And then also encourage each other's interests. That's really a big part of being respectful. You're not always going to agree what your partner maybe wants to do with his or her life, or maybe they're going to make decisions that you don't think are necessarily decisions that you would make for yourself, but you want to be encouraging and you want to be supportive. As long as it's not going to be at the detriment of your relationship or impact you guys in a negative way, sometimes you need to support your partner in making his or her own decisions, as long as it makes them happy and it fulfills who they are. So being encouraging is a huge way of being respectful. Also, listen with intention. Make sure that you're listening to what your partner is telling you and being quiet and not interrupting. These are huge ground rules that we had from the beginning and we continue to do through now. Obviously, we make some mistakes here and there. I feel like I'm more so sometimes wanting to interject and interrupt at times, but I always catch myself and make sure that I'm quiet and I zip my mouth while he is talking, because whatever he's talking about really is important for him, and I want to give him the floor and the space to be able to do that. So you want to listen and you want to shut your mouth and really take in what they have to say, especially during a disagreement and an argument, because your partner wants to feel heard, just like you want to feel heard. So make sure that you're taking turns in listening and then talking when it's appropriate. And the last way to be respectful is You just need to give personal space when desired. You know, yes, you are a couple and you love each other and you want to be together as much as possible. But sometimes in relationships, we need to have that personal space. So a form of respect is giving your partner time to be able to, you know, do his or her own thing, hang out with their friends, you know, do some hobbies that are by themselves. Just giving that space and letting them know that you love them and you care for them and you support them and you want them to be happy. So if they need some time doing what they do by themselves, give them that time. And while that happens, you take your time for yourself as well. You know, we always have to have that individual space and work on ourselves so we can be better partners with our significant others and have the best relationship and the healthiest relationship possible. And so out of the list that I just gave you, I also want you guys to come up with your own definitions and rules of what you think respect is in your relationship. Because like I said, it's different for everybody. So come up with your own things of what you think needs to happen in order to, you know, show each other mutual respect. And I'd love to hear some of your ideas and what works for you as a couple and what you think is respectful for one another. So feel free to comment below. Let me know what those respect rules are. I'd love to hear it, and you'll be able to help other couples as well have happier and healthier relationships. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write them below, and you know I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And
Super. That's fantastic. So we've got down to the end there, Mila. Thank you so much for showing those videos and helping orchestrate the that aspect of these presentations.
If you want to share your screen again.
I will share my screen again. But let me just talk about the videos here and understand that each of us has been through that. I've certainly been through the whole lack of respect and the inability to find a communication way of love. I'm a divorcee. I have my reasons, and one of them is associated with the lack of feeling respected, and therefore harder for me to show love if I felt disrespected. And in that regard, it was painful, even though we struggled and strived to improve things. It didn't improve because the respect was never provided, and therefore every aspect of trying to bring back a feeling of love into the relationship was diminished by the fact that whatever I tried to do was not reciprocated in a way of improved respect. So there we have a storytelling of sorts of how this all works together, and try to relate that. So we're talking about love, right? What is love? We've seen that it's a very many different things. And then the importance of respect in a relationship so that love can flourish, right? So that the love flourishes increased by the power of intimacy and coming together in regards to how we communicate with each other, how we get to know each other, how we become vulnerable with each other so we can feel closer to each other and be able to grow. And so that intimacy then leads to meaningful and long-term sexual relationships and the marital relationship. All right, back to sharing.
Yeah, because when you're not sharing your screen, it doesn't translate.
Oh, I am so sorry about that. And then what the importance of what I just said, Mila, is going back to reiterate on the importance of respect in the relationship and how it ties back into the ability to generate a feeling of love and romance. If the respect isn't there, the mutual respect isn't there, but specifically on the man's part, if the respect isn't there, then he can't actually have those feelings that are necessary in order to create a romantic love environment. And in so doing, if you can't get to the point of having this romantic love connection and so forth, developing these intimacies that are necessary in order to get to know each other and to have the vulnerabilities that grow this intimacy and feeling of connection and drawing upon each other's strengths, then you don't get to the point of having meaningful sexual or marital relationships. And that pulls it all together, is that in my own life, I have very many experiences to that in that way. And as a divorcee, go through that whole process of being in a situation where you didn't feel respected, or and therefore you couldn't create a closeness for romance, and that the romance then becomes rejected in the lack of respect, then it causes things to come apart pretty rapidly. I wanted to touch base too on the one on being a CEO again, is that each one of you as a USANA associate runs your own company. You are your own CEO, and all of these lessons should be directly applicable to you. Okay. There. All right. So once again, we come back to the fact is how do we feed these? And one of the components is that you have to feed your body the right nutrition in order to create the situation where you're healthy, and in order to be, and healthy, and therefore can create the feelings, moods, and behaviors that lead up to this whole aspect of being in love or having a love connection. And the fact is that while the studies are not there in regards to nutrition and sex, there's not a series of scientific experiments and documented repeatable studies, is that there is that in the mental health environment. And nutrition and behavioral health disorders are directly related to this. A poor nutrition will create depression and anxiety. And improving the nutrition improves a person's ability to deal with life. And is it too hard a stretch from those scientific conclusions to that associated with your whole environment of your body and all of the hormones which change, your feelings and moods and behaviors? Okay, back to this relationship of trying to find great nutrition and the ability to create a great love. The diet is immensely important when it comes to hormones, and because of the energy and the nutrients that you obtain from your food represent the raw materials to produce the hormones that fuel your body. And keeping in mind that no amount of great nutrition is ever going to fix stupid. Okay, so if you're taking part in stupid behaviors, don't rely on a parachute of nutrition to get you out of them. You have to change those behaviors in order to get yourself into a situation where you can be receptive to the great nutrition to improve your life, your health, and your love. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to get to is as we come to the conclusion of this whole 13-week episodes of the endocrine system and how we get from healthy nutrition to healthy relationships, is I've really enjoyed bringing it to you. I've had a lot of emotion associated with preparing for these classes and preparing the documentation. Each one of these is available on YouTube. You can watch it again and again. You can share it with your friends, share it with your downline, share it with the people that you know. If you like it and you subscribe, of course, that helps me reach more people. Keep in mind that I've been doing these classes since 2017. That means 5 full years of classes going out to try to help people, all of them for free and all of them for you. And we have touched over 26,000 people and 26,000 lives. And I'm really proud of being able to do that. And I will be continuing to do that. However, I'm going to take next week off. If you let me, I'm going to take next week off. Actually, I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to go do it. We have no class next week. All right. The next class will be on the 19th of March for those people in America and Europe, and then on the 20th for Asia. Now, this is a simulcast. Everybody gets it at the same time, of course. It's just that time zones change. So you need to be aware of your time zone and my time zone. And we try always to send out the invitations to you so that you can get that information and make it easy for you to connect up with the Health Eagle and the Health Eagle Show. So till the next time on the 19th of March, I hope that everybody has a great, loving relationship. You build upon the lessons here, ponder the things that you need to change, consider the things that will enhance your relationships, and also understand that there are no perfect relationships and that there will never be a perfect relationship, which means that you have to continue working on it. And if you don't get it right, stop, change direction, and try again. That being said, this is the Health Eagle, and see you next time on the Health Eagle Show.